If you're laying in your bed right now talking about how bad your life is, stop.
It's not just about what do you want. It's especially about what are you willing to sacrifice for this.
Get up and just move. Build a routine. It doesn't have to be hard.
I don't think people realize just how powerful they are.
Welcome back to Mulligan Brothers. Today's video, as always, was sponsored by Huel. I'm drinking Huel Black Edition, which has 26 vitamins and minerals, 35 grams of protein and slow release carbs to make sure that I can stay satiated and proteined up whilst I make these documentaries. If you want to find out more about these, go to the link in the description. I'll talk about them a little bit later on in the video. People talk about morning routines all the time, but in terms of the morning routine or routine being at the cornerstone of taking that extra one step every single day and trying to be better every single day, I've not heard that before, and that creating that structure in someone's life. And I think it's just perfect advice. For men especially struggling with mental health, just create a routine that you can stick to and start, building on it, make it better. And the exercise thing as well, just having something to improve yourself every single day, measurable, little by little. But it's hard to get that message to people.
It is, and a lot of people, they want a quick fix. They want to take a pill and make it happen. Mm-hmm. It's not going to. And a lot of people, they set these goals that are so unrealistic, you ain't going to make them. You don't have the discipline to pull it off. And I know it's nice to hope and want and wish, it ain't going to work. Why don't you set a goal you can actually maintain? Like, let's go to bed at the same time every day for 7 days. Let's wake up at the same time every day for 7 days. Just do that. Let's add a 20-minute walk in after dinner. Let's add in one before you go to work. Now let's see what's realistic. Inside of your life structure, can you add a morning routine that has fitness before you go to work? No, because of this and this. I tell you to find a little gray area, find a little buffer. Maybe you go to bed earlier, maybe you wake up earlier. There's something you can do just for you that makes you exponentially better without a lot of effort. And a lot of it is micro wins. I'm trying to stack up as many micro wins as humanly possible. Did I wake up at the same time that I was supposed to? Yep. Did I get my fitness in? Yep. Did I get a cold plunge in? Yep. 20-minute walk? Yep. Protein shake? Yep. Diet in check? Yep. Did I make my first meeting? Yep. That's 6 things before 10 a.m. I've done that 7 days a week, every day for 5 years. Pretty good, man. That's pretty repeatable. Do I do a 20-minute walk after dinner every night? Mm-hmm. Yeah, every night. That's pretty repeatable. I can knock that out. Do I take a shower every night? Yeah. So why couldn't I do a walk? If I'm not going to do a walk, do I take me and my wife and go on the front porch for 10 minutes? 10 minutes, just you and me. Like, it's pissing down rain. The kids are going to watch a movie. Let's just get 10 minutes, you and me. Let's make it a routine every single night. 10 minutes, 5 for you, 5 for me. Data dump whatever's going on in your life. Send it to me. Right? Like, you can build a reasonable routine that only makes you, it builds a bond with your partner, whatever it's going to be. But people don't want to just line it out. They want to turn over. They want to listen to a Joe Rogan podcast or Andrew Huberman and go, oh yeah, it'll work for me too. They're so disciplined. And if you don't break that down in manageable chunks, you'll never do it. And now it'll be another loss column. No, yeah, I tried keto, it didn't work. Oh, I tried this, it didn't work. I say it with diet all the time. Best diet in the world is the one you'll actually stick to. Doesn't matter what it is. That can be keto, that can be vegan, that can be whatever you want it to be. If you'll actually stick to it, that's the best diet for you. No different than that morning routine. Life has such a big physical component over it, and that's why I push it so much on military, police, firemen, just overall every day. Because to me, life is about processing information. Whether that be conflict, that could be navigating human terrain at the grocery store, it could be whatever it is. The better off I am physically gives me more options. I can process more information because there's no physical taxation to me processing that. Because if there is, I can already solve it. If there's a physical element in it, I don't even know what it is, I can pretty much get through it. Because I'm honest. There's not many things physically that I can't grind my way through. I got to jump on this. I got to push that. I got to pick this chick. I can do all that. If anybody else can do it, I can reasonably do it. And I think most people can, especially if you put forth just a little bit of effort, and the confidence that comes from that is really the key to mental health. It's stop feeling like a victim. And I say that to everybody else too. If you're going to talk about mental health from a fetal position, stop. Stop. If you're laying in your bed right now talking about how bad your life is, fucking stop. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to hear you from there. If you're going to talk about mental health, get up and do it in the grocery store. Get up and go interact with people. Say it to them out in town. Get up and just move. Build a routine. Wake up, drive your car 15 minutes, go sit at Starbucks and drink a coffee inside the restaurant. Do that. Just watch people interact. It pulls people out of depression. They don't want to listen to it. Like, I want to be alone. I know you do. That's why you've had this depression for 20 years. Get out and move. Be around people and see everybody's doing the same thing you are. And not a lot of people just want to put in that work, or they don't want to hear the real truth. The real truth is that everybody's got some stuff going on, man. Everybody. Just be open and share it.
It's funny, people like complicated morning routines, and they like to look at this magical morning routine that's all the bells and whistles. And I think a large portion of that is because if it's unreachable, then they don't have to do it. You know, there's some of that in it. But then also is they do, like, they look at, like you say, like Huberman or Joe Rogan or somebody like that, and or yourself even, and they'll look at these routines and not realize that you built that step by step for a long time to eventually get there, and it fits your lifestyle. And it's not for everyone, but it doesn't mean that you can't have your own routine. I think what's lovely about your routine is part of it is a 20-minute walk. Most people can do that. But then, you know, some of the stuff in the gym that you're doing maybe is a little bit more difficult for some people. Maybe they need to build up to that. But yeah, I think people are looking for a magic answer, and they look towards people who have these amazing routines and think, oh, that's why they're so successful. Not because they built it up tiny little bit every single time and eventually arrived at this routine. And they're looking at the results rather than the thing that got them the results. I mean, we spoke about that today a few times.
We were talking about it earlier. Like, I've been on the same morning routine since 2003, 4. Pretty much the same thing. I wake up at the same time, go to the gym the same time, pretty much eat the same meals. I've been drinking that same protein shake for 14 years. Like, it's my routine because I adopt it because it works. And I structure my day around it. So and that's what people talk about, is if my day were to shift, my routine were to shift. If I were to adopt graveyard shift, and now my mornings are really at night, my whole routine would shift to adopt that. When we go overseas, the same thing. Everything just shifts because it's not manageable. I'm not going to wake up at 4 a.m. if I'm not going to work until 2:30. That doesn't make any sense. I shift my entire day so I can get my full benefit. And a lot of that is because guys, especially, are sacrificial in nature. You're never going to take time for yourself. Never. You can't take a vacation. You can't go to a men's retreat. You can't do this. You can't do that because you got to provide. You got to raise kids. You got to be a good husband. You got to do this. You got to do all the other things. And before you know it, you've let yourself go. It's been 10 years. You can't draw me a diagram of the inside of your local gym. You don't golf anymore. You don't play pickup basketball with your buddies. You don't do anything. You don't have time. You don't make the time. Like, before you do that, you'll be on the wrong side of 50 and it's over for you. Like, I don't want that for anybody. You're just trying to optimize your morning routine to give you the most bandwidth so when you do get home, now I can be a full-time dad. I can be a full-time husband because I'm not trying to compartmentalize or trying to juggle all these things at simultaneous times. If I have a purpose-built routine, then I can tailor it to what I need. I don't have time to do full fitness. What am I doing? 20-minute walk in the morning fasted. I'll wake up an extra 10 minutes early and I knock out a walk before I go to work. Easy. The average person can walk a mile in 20 minutes. I do it 3 times a day. 3 miles a day, 20 miles a week. Anybody can do that. Like, it doesn't have to be hard.
It's life-changing though. It really is. It's just having that structure.
I did a talk for some guys not too long ago, and I told them if I could give everyone in the room a singular gift, it'd be the power of that 20-minute walk, especially if you're married. Especially if you're married. Just walk. Like, literally, walk out of your driveway and walk 10 minutes in one direction, you and your wife, and turn around and come back. 10 minutes down, floor is hers. 10 minutes back, floor is yours. The best thing you've ever done, man. It'll help you digest your food, set circadian rhythm, you'll get better sleep, kickstart your metabolism, and it'll actually give you guys 10 minutes to speak instead of being on your phones. Just go. Tell your friends. Take a buddy. I mean, that's why I force the guys to do it. Do the 20-minute walk, man. It's only going to help you. I mean, if you sit outside of our shop, you'll see them. Everybody does them. They'll all go out on lunch breaks. All 15 people, big 20-minute walk. But it's good. It allows them to sync up. It gets them outside. And it really helps with mental health. A job's stressful, man. Work is stressful. If you don't take time for yourself, you'll never find it. Sometimes you just got to make it.
Is there any teachings in Shaolin that talk about the idea of like false deities and,
like material goods and how it's not great for the mind?
It's simply rooted, I would say, in the fact of attachment. Okay, so it's like why I'm not a friend of investing, for example, buying a house, buying an apartment. Why? Because as soon as there is a house standing somewhere, something about me is stuck. Okay, because you need to take care of it. Okay, so in German word, it's called like Immobilie. Yeah, if you but immobile. That's exactly what's happening. Okay. Yeah. So this is when it comes to this type of teaching, meaning the more you attach to something, now it doesn't necessarily only have to be like material. It's in general, whatever is this, you get attached to it, you're stuck. But the world is turning, everything is changing. So I think if you want to get somehow in harmony, you can't be stuck. That this is for me the general understanding. So I make it simple for myself. I'm not talking about material. I'm not talking about just emotional. Whatever it is, you can get stuck in material, get stuck in emotionally, and also can get stuck mentally, can get stuck with your ideas. But it all follows the same principle. You get stuck, something about you is bound there. The energy is bound. So, and if you want to move on, well, then the burden must go. This is what it is. But now just to jump back just one step before that, yeah. If somebody is willing to take the same sufferings as like other people, no matter what, you look at any successful person, I think once the circumstances would also be the same. The only question would be if you are also willing to go through the suffering and the sacrifices somebody has went through. And that's all about it. So it's not just about what do you want. It's especially about what are you willing to sacrifice for this. And I make it very, very simple, for example. Yeah, for the last 23 years, 99% of the time, I wake up alone and I go to bed alone. And this is why nowadays I reach so many people. I think this is also something that goes hand in hand to it. Okay? And if somebody wants to have this life, well, chances are high. This is the question. What type of sacrifices are you willing to go through? What type of suffering are you willing to take? And based on that, it determines what can you reach.
On that point as well, this is something I'd love to try and articulate for the audience as well, because I think you painted a picture there. So if we were to take somebody like Dwayne Johnson, just for the sake of this analogy, if you took Dwayne Johnson and you put him where he is today with everything he owns today, and then you showed exactly what he had to do to get to those steps, and you in detail, and then you put somebody at the start line and says, are you willing to do what he did to get to where he's got to? And some people would say yes, and they would try, and maybe if they would fail, maybe they'd succeed. Some people would say no, there's too much work, and they probably wouldn't do it. This is the fact that gets me, and I love this. The difference is Dwayne Johnson, he didn't get a picture of all the results, and he didn't know that he was going to be this big success. He had to do all the work anyway with no promise. And this is where I think people get confused, is people say stuff like, well, I would work out every day, 3 times a day to be a professional footballer, because that's what a professional footballer does, and they're a professional footballer. But they had to do years and years and years and years of work with no promise of being a professional footballer, and still do the work and then hopefully achieve it. And I think that's the difference, is people say they're willing to pay the price, but when you remove the promise of success, I think it's a completely different ballgame. I think it's such a difficult journey into the unknown that people don't understand as much when they make these kinds of analogies. And like, you did that for years and years and years. You didn't know you was going to have this success with the Shaolin Temple when you were waking up every single day doing this. You just, I guess, hoped and had a vision, and you made it.
but you didn't know. Does the analogy make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. I was just thinking maybe that all the type of extraordinary things happen without you planning them. Maybe this is really the price for you accepting the fact of going through suffering. This is like my philosophy. So you are willing to really keep going, stay disciplined, don't give up. Just have trust in whatever. And because you keep on going, because someone can see how much pain, how much suffering you're willing to take, maybe this is the reason why sometimes there are presents. Of course, you can take this only as a picture, but maybe this is the analogy, yeah?
Well, I felt that that's the case. Like, the more it's such a terrible piece of advice or quote, but the more we have suffered and the harder it's been, usually wherever it was at some point, the more the gift was for us. And it seems to always be the case. And I guess it's that thing again, the balance of the universe. Like, you put in and you put in and you put in and you put in and you give and give and give. And then one day somewhere unknown to you, it comes back. And it feels like magic sometimes, that the way it happens, but it does. And it usually happens in the place you weren't looking is where the gift will be returned. Maybe not where you wanted it, but something will come. And I've always found it fascinating, incredible. And I think when you understand that finally, it does change your life. And if you can just start to trust that, we say trust the process, because we feel that we know now, we've had that feedback once. And once we had it once, it came 2, 3, 4 times. And the more and more that came, the more we understood that it will come somehow. As long as we just keep trusting the process and we stay disciplined, we put as much work as we can into it and bear the hard times with grit and determination. At some point, there'll be something, whether it's a gift at the doorstep or whatever it is, but it will be returned. I think it's hard for some people to have faith in that though, or believe that it will come back, especially when it's painful.
Maybe just take a look at the nature. This is why are sometimes the lifestyles that we have so much related to the nature, why I like to go to the nature, because there it gives sometimes the answers. You just look at, for example, there are some trees, they grow quite fast. And then you have some bamboos, like, so many years nothing's happening, and suddenly the boost comes. So, but what all of them have in common is, it's about the roots. So, and some roots take longer, some roots they need to prepare properly, knowing what's going to happen later on. So, and this rooting, meaning entering into new territory, is also what makes it so painful when we are trying to build up roots in our life. Also, now coming back to like the martial training, there are exercises which are called strengthening the roots, developing the roots, rooting. So, and are these relaxing exercises? No. They are exhausting, hard, hard for the mind, challenging for your discipline exercises. But when you go through it, everything else you're going to build upon this is just going to benefit from it, yeah? And so how fast something goes or whatever is really not important. This is not where to place the attention on.
Today's episode, as always, was powered by Huel. This stuff has been absolutely crucial to my training and the world record I just broke, the world's heaviest marathon, where I carried 220 pounds for 28 miles. Yes, I achieved it, guys. It is done. This is what I was drinking, Huel Black Edition. It has 35 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals and slow release carbs. And it's what I use in my training all the time. But don't just take my word for it. People like the hardest geezer ran across Africa drinking this stuff. It's absolutely amazing. And if you want to get exclusive offers and deals, go to the link in the description and you can find out more about their other products like their daily greens and their meals, which I eat every single lunchtime. Thank you to Huel for sponsoring the video, and let's dive back in to the episode.
You've spoken about like creating with the manifestation. Sorry, the word manifestation is something that I'm really interested in. You've spoken about creating reality with belief, though, you know, and we speak about manifestation all the time, and our audience invested in it. But I think it's important to have the correct language around it, because a lot of people say, I've tried manifestation, it doesn't work, it didn't bring me what I asked for, it didn't bring me what I thought about. I've in your office today, hope you don't mind, I saw something you had on your desk that's part of your manifestation. I mean, you spoke about it today, about the 150 million. And I'm curious as to how people can actually action manifestation to a point where it does breathe reality.
I'm going to take the word manifestation away.
Okay.
We are very powerful magnets. Whatever the most continuous thought you have is going to be magnetized to your life in its physical equivalent, whether you're conscious of it or not. Oh, I can't stand this. Can't stand this person. Oh, why do I keep attracting this kind of person? Because consciousness doesn't hear, I can't stand. It hears this person, this kind of person. I don't think people realize just how powerful they are, how powerful their being is, because they thrive off of rewards and certificates and things of that nature. But the self-reward and the self-acknowledgement will demagnetize the drive for you to do something outside of you. And the way you as a magnet works, what you want wants you. But also what you don't want wants you. And most of the time, there's a thought in your mind is, I don't want this kind of thing. I don't want to die, and I don't want this, and I don't want. So it sounds like the negative Smurf. Oh, I hate this and I hate that. But it might not sound like that outwardly, but in the mind, the stinking thinking. It's over 55,000 thoughts a day, and whichever one you concentrate power to, then starts to build this, it starts to create this wavelength that has this plastic universe shape itself around you. Just know that you're a very powerful magnet. You don't just randomly walk by somebody and then all of a sudden there's a shock. There's got to be something to that. There's got to be something to that. So let's just play in the realm of possibility. If you are the most powerful magnet in the world, and you attune yourself, kind of like a radio station, to a specific station or frequency. Think about how a radio station works. Static, shh. Then you get a station you don't like. Why would you listen to a station you don't like? But then you attune it. You're like, oh, this is my station right here. And all of a sudden you start attracting people who like that music. Well, let's just say your attunement sometimes is not a station that you like, but you keep listening to it and complaining about the station that you don't like, but you keep listening to. You're telling the attuner, I like this station. So it's going to keep attracting the same kind of people that don't like this station, but they keep listening to it. Well, what if you turn that dial to a station you actually like? You're going to feel different on the inside. And the feeling is the secret, said Neville Goddard. So then you start feeling different, which emotes a completely different frequency and no different than a sonar blip or the frequency from a dolphin. It goes out this way. Anything you put out comes back. But it doesn't come back this way. It comes back this way. So if you understand how to tune yourself, you'll send out a completely different signal. And whatever signal you send out, whoever's dancing to that signal, whoever wants to hear that station is who's going to show up. And that's why they say your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibration attracts your tribe nation. You are the 5 closest people that you choose to surround yourself around. All of that's the same conversation.
Inner circle. Talk a little bit more about that, like the people you do hang around with.
You become the sum total of the people you hang out with, but there's more than one language. It's not just what they're talking about. It's what they're not talking about. It's the frequency that they're in. It's how they live their life in integrity or not. There's no in between. You're either living in integrity or not. Tearing people down, gossiping, whatever, you'll become the sum total of that vibration. Not the people, you'll become the sum total of the vibration. That's why if you move to France, you will become the sum total of the language that's spoken over there, but you'll speak like them, not like somebody who wants to learn French, who then goes to Starbucks and then puts on Rosetta Stone for 5 minutes a day and then is like, oh yeah, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Or you go to France and immerse yourself in the culture. Now you learn all the different languages, frequency, vibration, the body language. There's so many different forms of languages. So understanding who you hang out with is a sum total of who you are as a person. Sometimes people are like, oh, I just can't let them go. And guess what? They are the sum total of hanging on to something that they can't just let go. It just might manifest itself through different ways in which they speak, but your vibe will attract your tribe. Yeah, but this person's got a lot of money. Oh yeah, but they also don't have a relationship with their kids, just like you. You're experiencing the overcompensation, but the sum total, there's a shared frequency inside of there.
One of the most common questions people ask me is, how do I handle pressure? Pressure is interesting to me because, remember, I believe that I'm at ease. So pressure is created by dis-ease, and dis-ease is truly created by ego-based consciousness. And so there's 4 steps to deal with pressure. 1 is to identify the need of the ego that is determinative upon creating pressure. See, the ego is not what most people think the ego is. The ego does edge goodness out of your life. The ego is not your amigo. This is all true, but it's not just a narcissist, a self-serving, greedy, egotistical type of ego. See, the ego is what creates the pressure, and the pressure is created by the needs of the ego. Let me explain what they are. The need to be right creates pressure. The needs to be separate from, the need to be inferior, the need to be superior, the need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful. All of these needs, and there's many more, they create pressure in your life. It's an illusion. It's a self-prophecy that creates a closing of the learning curve, a closing of the comfort zone. This is where the pressure is created. So what do? 1, we practice identifying, especially what we're more apt to be needy of. So for example, I have a terrible need to be offended. And it's a terrible need to have, because the minute I walk outside, I have a need to be offended. You know how easy it is to be offended? I always tell people, I wish I could feed the world as easily with their need to be hungry that I do myself with the need to be offended. I walk outside, I'm like, oh, can you believe that person is walking by right? It's amazing. Do you know how much time, emotion, value, and energy is wasted by this pressure creating ego-based consciousness? So what do? We practice identifying it. Now, counterintuitive to after we're able to identify the ego-based consciousness that creates pressure, don't resist it. See, the natural reaction to the need to be guilty, resentful, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, and angry is to resist it, to go over it, under it, through it, around it, oversell it, back and sell it, lie to it, manipulate and cheat it. Don't do it. Simply stop. Simply stop. Breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathe, get to center, get at ease. And then roll towards what you want, who you can help, who can help you, how best to get it done, and prioritize what's important to you. Not what's important to other people, what's missing, what you don't want, but what's important to you, and apply that why. Don't search for something you already have. Apply the why. If you can identify this pressure, these ego-based consciousness, these needs, and stop, drop, and roll, you'll spend minutes and moments each day under pressure, and the majority of your life at ease, in the flow, where things come to you effortlessly, rapidly, and accurately.